Welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with your friends and get your gaming goodness every Saturday at 6 a.m. My name's Dylan Blight, and joining me on the couch, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, booking any flights anytime soon?
I've already booked flight. Why? What do you? What?
We need to take more flights because then we might get some switches.
Oh, the wink, wink story, wink, wink. Yeah, but we don't have. That was American Airline, wasn't it? Yeah, I think
it was an American Airline.
It was at East, whatever it was. Yeah, American Airlines hand out switches for free. There's your reference for everyone who hasn't seen that. Who owns Virgin? What's his name?
Richard Branson.
Oh, fuck. Richard Branson ain't doing that shit. Also on the couch this week, Sri Shona.
Hello. I was like, geez, you guys are really stretching out this intro.
What? Yeah. Well, yeah, because at first I was like, what is he referencing? And I felt like I should know what it was. And then I was like, yeah, I should know because it only happened today. But there you go. But also I was like, are you hinting at PAX? Like, what are we?
No. Yeah.
What are we talking about here? It wasn't.
No,
wasn't
you know, I'd be interested to see if it's a year from that big because it was Southwest Airlines. They were famous for that incident where they threw an Asian guy off a plane, Asian doctor guy. Whether it's like correlates with the time like a year, so everybody doesn't bring up stories about how terrible they were.
Well, yeah. So in case I don't have this story in the show notes, obviously, but now that you brought it up, there was this morning or last night, as of recording, whatever it was, South by Southwest Airlines or whatever. Like they get on the plane and then everyone just gets a Switch plus Super Mario Maker for free, for reasons,
for publicity.
Yeah, for publicity. But I was trying to work out why, because I'm like, and we're going to talk about all the Nintendo Switch news, obviously, later in the show, but I'm like, was there so much bad publicity from that they're like, fuck, better hand out like 300 of these fuckers for free. I'm like, the publicity wasn't that bad. It's only the hardcore people online complaining about this stuff. No one else really gives a shit. So yeah,
maybe they found out their flight was delayed for 5 hours.
Well, yeah, maybe we never heard the
other half. Sign NDAs.
Yeah, you can get this for free. Fuck, I would. I'll take a Switch for a 5 hour delay. Sure. Well, I suppose it depends what you got going on as well.
That's true.
If you're in a rush, maybe something's more important than a Switch.
Not many things.
Maybe, possibly, most likely, but at some stage of life.
At some stage, but maybe not right on that day. So, anyway, on today's show, PUBG releases a story, Gears 5 drama over no smoking, China bans a video game, and of course, as we just mentioned, Switch Lite is on its way, and we'll be talking about that. But first, bit of a round of applause. Detective Pikachu becomes the highest grossing video game movie. GamesIndustry.business wrote the story. It says last weekend remaining showings of Detective Pikachu pushed the film to $436 million at the box office, a new record for video game based films. Yahoo, let's take a moment. Good job, Pikachu. Pika. Yahoo
that's
News
my
reports.
line.
Oh, sorry. Yahoo News reports that the movie is only showing in 5 territories at the moment: Norway, New Zealand, Slovenia, Portugal, and Colombia. This last weekend, showings in those 5 areas brought in nearly 7 million. The previous record was set by a Warcraft movie, which brought in 433 million and was widely considered a critical flop. Detective Pikachu, though, has got way better reviews across the board, I think, than Warcraft did. That's an easy thing to say. So, and also, I think we can we can easily follow up this story and say, hey, Detective Pikachu sequel's probably coming soon.
Well, another Pokemon movie.
Another Pokemon movie of some sort is probably on the way. And also tie into this, I thought was interesting. Detective Pikachu also has a presence at San Diego Comic-Con, which is on this weekend, which I thought was interesting considering it neither has like its Blu-ray release coming up soon or the film release. Obviously it's like in this weird limbo point, but they're apparently got some sort of presence. I saw a video online of like somewhere there was like promotion for it being at Comic-Con, so I thought that was interesting.
They're pushing the game. The game's coming out on the Switch sometime.
Well, that would be good. I'd love if that was a thing. I don't know why they didn't do that ahead of time prior to all this, but
well, they were waiting to see if it was successful.
Well, I was trying to work out because after I saw the thing about them having a presence at Comic-Con, I was like, is there a chance or any sort of panel where they could announce a movie? Which would seem crazy, but, you know, they may have already locked in the...
I assume Lionsgate's probably going to be there, and they're the guys behind it.
Yeah.
The last one, so...
I mean, yeah, so there's a chance,
It'd be crazy, but...
Yeah, but I mean, to announce it, all they would have to do is come out and be like, hey...
Guess what?
Pikachu made a shit ton of money, highest grossing video game based movie. I don't know if we can claim it's the best reviewed one. I'd have to go double check, but
I'm
I mean,
pretty
what else?
confident that it is.
Yeah, I'd feel pretty confident, but I'd have to double check before I throw that out there. They could come out and be like, yeah, no, best reviewed, highest grossing, and just so you know, we're officially in the stages of working on the script for a next Pokemon movie. Woo! That's all they need to say. It's not like they'll need to come out and be like, here's a trailer or cast member or anything like that. So, yeah, good on you, Pikachu.
I'm kind of
right.
surprised it's taken this long. Like, I fully expected it to be
to-
a huge box office success and worldwide, raking it in. But I guess, yeah. I also wasn't surprised that Warcraft was at 433 million, because that was a huge flop in America.
It was, yeah, I think it made a shit ton of money in
China, yeah.
China and stuff, yeah, which is, you know, love the MMOs, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Make
That
all the
makes
money
sense
over
when you put it like that.
there.
It's where Blizzard makes
okay,
all their
so
money, so
Yeah.
that's South
Next
Korea.
thing I put on here for this week, I simply wrote in the show notes, react to this hell. And then I linked a video that I feel like everyone's probably seen by this stage on Twitter. I've watched it every single time I've seen someone else re-meme it, like retweet it with a new explanation. I watch it every single time because I'm blown away either by how angry it makes me or how amazing it is that someone manages to beat this. So someone made level 1-1 from Super Mario Brothers in Mario Maker, except for, well, no, I mean, it's level 1-1.
They
and
made
all
it
they've done
exactly
is
the
just-
same.
They made it exactly the same.
Easiest
apart
level
from-
ever made in Mario.
Yeah, it's the exact same level except for they've just got whatever you would call them, the rotating,
The spinning fire things
everywhere,
everywhere.
Fucking everywhere,
Everywhere,
literally
yeah.
everywhere. And I watch it every single time, and I'm also like, this is why. You want to be like, why are some people make games and some people don't? It's because Nintendo aren't sadists, and this is some satanic shit. You know, only someone who prays to the devil would create this level, I feel. And also, it just made me thank God for the levels we get now in Mario, because some may be hard, but they're not this shit.
How many times do you reckon it took them to do it, to actually like beat the level? It's actually ridiculous how easily, because the timing is so precise on when you're
Everything.
supposed to move and when you have to duck and hide and jump and all. It's ridiculous.
And the way it's orchestrated, you can't stop moving because then, or you can't stop moving for very long because it's constantly something's going to hit you.
Yeah, I can't imagine how many times you'd have to go through to then know the steps you have to take. Like, it's kind of like, reminded me of that game, like Geometry Dash, like some of the levels people make in those where it's like crazy, you have to like jump at the right times and stuff. Because it's just like you start the level, you die like as soon as you hit the first one. You're like, okay, I have to jump there. You go to the next one. Okay, I have to hide there. Like this sort of ridiculousness, and it'd take you so long to work out exactly what the system is. It's a joke. It was nuts.
My favorite thing though is I feel like when they had this from Mario Maker 1 as well. They had this rule where you couldn't upload a course unless you beat it, and I swear, like in Nintendo's mind, they're like, this will stop any troll levels getting in. But what happens when the trolls are able to beat their own levels? This is what happens. This is what we get. Nonsense like this. But I also feel like because I'm like, this is kind of funny, I guess, and I watch it, and it makes me. It actually, I swear, it gave me anxiety the first time I was watching it because I was just like, no, this is hell. I love how the top comment is actually someone's just no, the second comment is just like, I already said this on Twitter, but I'll say it again here. This is Mario's personal hell. Yeah, because it is hell. You know, it's like you start the level and everything looks normal. I guess Mario's walking in. It's like, this looks like level 1-1. It's basically what I imagine our own hell to be like, which is when you go to hell, you look around, you're like, oh, it's Earth, except like Donald Trump's president or something. But
oh dear.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I think
Thank
the
you very much,
saddest thing is he doesn't even get to the castle.
He doesn't what? Oh yeah, because it's all blocked off by the fucking
things.
Spin out.
Yeah,
And you can't get the highest amount of points, not that you really care at that. By the time you get to the end of the stage, you don't care if you can get to the top of the flagpole. Get me in to the end of this level as quickly as possible.
It's hell.
Bonkers.
It's basically hell.
I mean,
okay,
you have to wonder how much time they took to adjust certain things so you could actually.
Oh, they would have had to like. I still haven't finished the one level, and to be honest, to be fair, I'm not putting much time into it. Like here and there, I've been messing around with that one level that I'm trying to make a Mario Maker. But every time I like try to see if something will work, because I'm trying to do something, you know, that I'll be like, oh, this is kind of cool level or whatever. But every time I set it up, you test it, and then you'll be like, oh, that thing's too far away. So then you have to go into the menu again, readjust the block across, and then, you know, so every single slider judge of it. So I just can't imagine how long it actually took to get this right. That's, yeah, utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Talking about utter nonsense, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds just got a completely bananas backstory, says Kotaku writer Joshua Rivera. So they released a trailer overnight as of recording. And I know we talked about, it was like a couple months ago, or at least like a month and a half, 2 months ago, where they were talking about doing a single player PUBG game, or, you know, something about that with single player content and all this sort of stuff. And I can't help but feel like this is the kicking off point to building a bigger and wider PUBG universe. But I also just think it is absolutely hilarious what they're trying to set up here. So you have this in the trailer, you see this boy, and he's trying to hide and survive when a war is going on around him, or like a civil war of some sort, you know, like some sort of battles happening all around him, and he manages to hide it out while all these people are shooting one another and so on and so forth. And then the camera kind of pans around and time goes forward. And while this is happening, you're having this very serious voiceover by, and you know the serious tone set when the trailer starts with someone be like, "Once I was a boy." It sounds like some trailer for, you know, some super serious war movie or something like that. And then time like all skips ahead, and then it's revealed at the end that the boy grows up. The boy grows up to be the one who's now orchestrating the battle royales on the island here, I guess is what is being set up. I personally think the trailer was nonsense. I think if they was going to do a storyline to PUBG and try and build this, I presume, bigger universe that they're trying to do the single player game in and stuff now, they should have just gone not like Fortnite wacky, but a little bit more not as serious. I feel like this is a step too far where they're trying to build this really serious universe to PUBG, a game which still years after what are we in, like a year after proper release now, still kind of runs very janky. Yep. And turns into a lot of memes and stuff. So I don't know how you turn that game into a super serious online shooter with a single player game coming and whatever else, I guess. Yeah. What do you think, though, Ash?
I don't know. It's just weird. Like just the entire concept of one kid being upset about war and then deciding to create a death island for his entertainment.
Well, it begs more questions because it's like,
how do you get the money?
Yeah. Where are the people coming from?
Yeah.
Why are they coming there? Why is all this stuff happening? Because it was all easier. It was all simpler for these games when they didn't have a story. So no one questioned why he was coming in on the the jet planes and coming down to battle one another and whatever. It was just like, oh, it's a silly kind of game. The second you try and put any backstory into it, it's like, well, hold on. To be fair, Apex Legends does have a story to it, but they've had that since day dot. So they obviously built the universe and everything around that. So it makes a bit more sense in the scheme of things of what's happening in Apex Legends. And it's like with Apex Legends, people aren't like the characters aren't constantly coming back to life or whatever. It's just that's what's happening from a gameplay perspective and canon lore reason wise. The story's been played out over these cinematics that they're probably going to release before each season now. But PUBG is like starting that too many years late because this trailer was released to kick off season 4, and I'm like, honestly, at this stage, people are either playing Fortnite or Apex Legends. And Call of Duty is probably going to release another Battle Royale mode with its release in a couple months. And this is what you're choosing to do to try and get the audience back. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the smartest move, but do what you need to do, I guess, PUBG Corporation. Do what you need to do. It made for a funny trailer. I could not take it serious at all. So at least it was funny. Well, I can't wait for it to be turned into a movie. Oh, wait, it already has. It's called Battle Royale. We watched it, and what do you want to watch? Go check that out. Plug. All right, so last week a story in IGN about Gears 5 removing smoking draw some heat. See the connection there? Smoking heat. Got them. Then they corrected the story, saying that Gears 5 hasn't had smoking for a couple of games. And it just had me bring up an interesting topic point because we've had this whole thing at the moment with Stranger Things as well, where Netflix announced that future seasons of Stranger Things, they're going to cut back the smoking in that show for basically the same reasons that they talked about here, and like saying, influencing kids and so on and so forth to think that smoking is cool. And on both accounts, it's had people flipping their lid at Netflix, and then also now flipping their lid at Gears of War team and Xbox and so on and so forth. It's especially relevant in the comment section, but I'll just read a little bit of the story here first. So the original story said the coalition has apparently turned on the no smoking sign in Gears 5, as it has been revealed that all references to tobacco will be scrubbed from the upcoming shooter. Variety reports that Gears 5 developer The Coalition has consciously made the decision to remove smoking references from the shooter after discussing it with the anti-tobacco organization, Truth Initiative. I was like, which also, side note, I had no idea that the anti-tobacco organization had such a like weird name for it, like some fucking Twilight Zone Truth Initiative. Truth originally reached out to Turner regarding concerns about the deception of smoking Gears 5. Turner has partnered with esports organization E-League, which all happens to be broadcasting rights to Gears 5 esports tournament rights, right? Rod Ferguson, studio head at Coalition, addressed the decision to not include depictions of smoking or tobacco in a statement to Variety, saying, I've seen the firsthand the devastating impact of smoking. Ferguson said, it's always been important to me to not use smoking as a narrative device, which is why we made the conscious choice to avoid highlighting or glorifying smoking in Gears 5 and throughout Gears of War universe moving forward. So blah, blah, blah. And then update, in a tweet to IGN, Coalition studio head Rod Ferguson replied to this report to clarify that smoking wasn't removed from Gears 5. However, it has been dropped from the franchise. Saying, quote, there was no smoking to remove from Gears 4 or 5 because there is never was any smoking to begin with, he said. And as long as I'm in control, there will never be. The original story as follows. So it's funny because they run the whole thing and then it comes back. And it's not that they suddenly made the decision to remove smoking. There was never smoking in the game to begin with. And there also apparently hasn't been, well, as I constantly talk about, I still haven't played the game, so I can't comment on the game's use of smoking. But it sounds like they haven't actually had smoking in the game for a couple entries at this point, and suddenly people are picking up on it. But then the comment section turns into an absolute shitstorm on this IGN article, which I find quite hilarious. Like the first comment is, remember guys, it's totally okay to saw an alien's face, but it's not okay to saw to an alien's face while smoking a stoogie. Stop pandering to the left-wing NPCs, make the game you want to make with the vision you've laid out. Blah, blah, blah. So to which point someone rightfully replies, quote, make the game you want to make. Considering Rod Ferguson has been fighting since day one to keep Gears smoking free, I'd say that's what they're doing. And then, removing tobacco references doesn't have any impact on young people. So does removing violence have an impact on young people too? Blah, 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 blah. A whole bunch of people complaining over nonsense, I guess. But I guess I was like, well, this is a good kicking off point to tie in that Stranger Things thing with this. Do you think, because to me, I think there's a difference. So I was wondering what everyone else would feel. I'm not on the side where I'm like, oh, violent video games is going to make someone a shooter. I don't believe that unless they're already like that way inclined, I guess. Like unless they're already like a psychopath or something and it's going to help trigger them to want to shoot people or something like that. But killing people in video games isn't going to make you want to go out and kill people. But I do believe that if you're young enough and you see characters in a video game, a TV show, or movie that are smoking, and they're smoking in a like, they're the badass character, the cool character, I do believe that could influence them to want to start smoking. The same as like drug use or drinking. Like if the character is supposed to be cool and they're smoking or drinking or something like that, I do believe, depending on your age, obviously, it could influence you to go one way or another. So although they haven't removed the smoking, take that whole part of the story away, but the idea that they've purposely been trying to keep smoking out of it, imagine a world where they did remove smoking. Do you think that would be the right decision to make? Because that's basically what they're doing for the Stranger Things thing that everyone's getting huffed and puffed at. Although that's a little bit different because the 80s stuff, but still. Ash?
I really don't care. I mean, I really don't think it has any impact anymore. I feel like there's so much information out there and yeah, there's so much information provided, and they do so much
really don't?
work.
You don't reckon like 11-year-old kid or whatever, they're playing a game and it's like really cool character, and
yeah, and then they do it once and they're like, this really sucks, so I'm never going to do it again.
That's not how it works, though.
Yeah, that's how it works.
As an
Daddy comes home and makes you smoke a whole pack.
Sheree?
Yeah, so I was reading the comment section and I found it quite hilarious and also like angering. I think there's a couple of things that play a part in this whole scenario. Firstly, his main thing that he had come out and said was that he has seen the effects of smoking and blah, blah, blah. So I think part of it is also just a personal view. You know, it's not all about the influencing. It's just a personal view. It's no different to not putting unicorns in the game because you don't like them. Not putting drinking in a game because you don't like it. You know what I mean? If
1-to-1 comparison.
It's the exact same, guys. But I was reading some of the comments and I just thought it was so stupid because this is like a very good example. Like people are just whinging and putting shit on it for no reason. Whereas if no one actually said anything about it, no one would have any problem. People wouldn't be sitting there pointing out, this game has no smoking in it. That's unacceptable. Why wouldn't they have smoking in it? I think that the violence versus cigarettes is a different issue because smoking is a health-related situation, whereas the violence part of it is actually like you actually have to make the choice to kill someone, or, you know, that's a personal choice, but if you're smoking, the health side effects for that isn't actually your personal choice. You're making the choice to smoke, but it actually comes back to a health thing. And like you were saying, you know, it is I agree with you when you said, you know, if a kid saw that it was really cool or whatever, they'd think, oh yeah, I want to smoke. But like, you know, kids are going to play around with guns or whatever. Not real guns. Let's just get that.
Kids are going to play around with guns or whatever. You know, let's be real. That's what happens. Not in this country.
So that, you know, that's a couple of different things. But I think it is different to the violence because I feel like he's making a personal choice to say this is part of a health issue, which I've seen the effects of, and I just don't really like it. I don't think it's like good for people's health. Seeing what I can do, blah blah blah. And he's trying to. I feel like he's just trying to again create the game that he wants to create, which is not promote that. But yeah, I think like if he just didn't say anything, people aren't going to sit there and put shit on it. This is just an example of gamers being shit. That's my motto on this show. I say it all the time. Gamers are shit.
I think this is more of a case of someone writing a story that didn't need to be written.
Well, yeah, that. But it just like, yeah.
But he's talking out to say like, this is the game that I want to be making, and it doesn't include this for these reasons. And he has every right to say that. That's like me saying, I'm going to create a game that doesn't have guns in it. People would sit there and still be like, oh, well, she's not putting guns in it because like that's violence or whatever. But maybe I just didn't want to put them in there. You know?
No, the story's funny just because it's literally a case of being like them saying, I've never had, because the original story was saying like they removed it, so then everyone flipped their lid, and then they've updated it to say that they've never been in the first place. But now that all the IGN commenters sniffed their thing, and it's like, oh, yeah, lefties are ruining everything. But the story aside, I thought it was an interesting, because like reading this after the Stranger Things debacle and whatever else, because like I'm on the side where, depending on what it is and stuff like that, that's what I'm saying. If they had decided at Gears of War 5, if this new director came in and he was like, you know what, I don't like smoking because I've lost a family member to it or something, and I'm going to remove smoking from this game, and then everyone would have flipped their lid if this is what happened, which isn't, but I'm saying in this scenario, if that happened, everyone would have flipped their lid, and I would be perfectly okay with that. Much like with the Stranger Things thing, where they said that going forward, they're going to get rid of or lessen the amount of smoking in that show. And everyone flipped their lid because they're like, it's the 80s, everyone smokes. And I'm like, yeah, but also it's about like alternate dimensions and monsters, and you're worried about the realism of everyone smoking. Yeah, I don't give a shit in that case. So that's like where my thoughts to it come down, and everyone just flips their lid so easily. You're censoring it. People should be allowed to smoke. And it's also real interesting in the games industry, I feel, smoking, because Hideo Kojima is like a non-smoker from what I gather, I think. Like, I've never actually seen him smoking. I've seen him pretend smoking in those pictures with Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen. But all of his games have an obsession with smoking for the sole reason of making the characters look cool. Like all of his games, you can smoke. Like in Metal Gear Solid and stuff, you can pull out a cigarette. No point to it. Just because it's cool. So literally the only reason it's in there. So if he decided to remove it too, everyone would have flipped their lid. But I don't know. It's interesting. And obviously I've got better things to worry about than them removing smoking from either Stranger Things or Gears of War fucking 5.
Understand. It's like, why are all these people in the comments section yabbering on about it? Just go do something better, guys. Next you'll be complaining that some people don't have specific things in their fridge by choice. Just leave it alone.
What?
You know, it's like how some people don't have unicorn juice in the fridge.
Yeah, why aren't there more unicorns in games? It is a travesty. It's right-wing propaganda.
Yeah.
It's pandering to the right wing. This lack of unicorns in everything.
God damn it, Trump. You ruined something again.
Yeah. Gears of War was going to be a full-on unicorn game before.
Hopefully without the guns. Oh.
Before the Lies Initiative got involved. Terrible.
Okay, so next story I thought was interesting, and talking about people. Here's a really good example of two. This is my problem with a lot of things these days. Everyone's in this Gears of War 5 comment section complaining about stuff that isn't actually a thing and doesn't actually matter. And these same sorts of people, I'm sure, are the kinds of people who tweet out stuff about so and so's blocking my freedom of speech and all this sort of stuff. And the next story is literally about an entire company getting censored. So, but is anyone on the internet crying about that? No, because they don't care unless it's actually a big deal. But I'm not going to read this whole story because it's a lengthy piece, but I'm going to link it in the show notes for people to read because it's the best story I've seen written about this news story. Everyone else I've seen cover it was very briefly and not much information. But it comes from Rock Paper Shotgun. It says China forced one horror game publisher to close, but the whole region felt it. It says, much like the phantoms that materialize and disappear within the dusky corridors of Devotion, the game itself felt like an apparition. Launched in February, the solid Taiwanese horror game vanished from Steam just weeks afterwards due to discovery of an in-game talisman that contained divisive references to China's president Xi Jinping. Facing a firestorm of criticism, its studio Red Candle Games hurriedly hunkered down, announcing that it was putting the game through rounds of quality checks before releasing it again. But it's now 4 months later, and the game still hasn't been restored to Steam. But Red Candle are the only studio that had to wrestle with China's strict censorship. So the article actually goes over a lot of interesting things that I haven't seen written about much before, which is China's weird deal with not only game development, but also Steam, because you're not supposed to have Steam in China apparently, and they've blocked like the Steam community hub, so you can't actually get onto like Steam forums or any of that sort of stuff. You can get access to Steam, even though apparently legally you're not supposed to, which is weird. And also China hands out these game grants for companies or whatever, except for they're apparently really, really rigorous to get a hold of and near impossible. And what happened with this game basically is Devotion comes out, and also this is not a random thing. I first heard of this probably like a month ago on, I don't know what website it was. I was looking through one website's like top, like the best games of the year so far. You know, whatever. It could have been 25 games, could have been 10, whatever it was. It was probably 25. And they had Devotion on it, and that was the first time I ever heard of it. And I went to look up, and I looked to buy it, and I was like, and I first heard about this story, and I was like, what the fuck, it's disappeared? But at the time, I remember reading it was supposed to come back, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll wait for them to fix this thing that they had to pull it down for, which is this reference to China's president, and then hopefully I'll get to play the game, because it has an 85 on Metacritic currently, which is pretty darn high for a horror game, especially like an indie horror game that's like, Outlast levels and stuff, not something that comes around too often, especially when Steam gets a shit ton of pretty mediocre horror games that come through it. This one was apparently good. So they had the reference to China's president inside the game, and by reference, they do mean like, what would be the word? They were political commentary. Not in a good way about the president, I guess.
From what I understand, they were referencing him as Winnie the Pooh, which in the past has been a thing people have referenced against him, which he doesn't like.
Yes.
Thus why Winnie the Pooh is banned in China. In China,
yeah. Which is a whole thing when that Christopher Robin movie came out as well.
Yep. Didn't they have to? They censored the whole Kingdom Hearts section, I think, as well?
Yeah, there's no Winnie the Pooh in China's version of Kingdom Hearts either, yeah. Solely because people
have made the comparison between the Chinese president and Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. And people are only making the comparison because it's like you're short and fat joke. But he takes it so much to heart. He also doesn't wear any
pants very often, so.
It's such a joke, such a simple joke, really. You're Winnie the Pooh saying you're short and fat. I mean, it's not a very smart joke or whatever, but it gets to him so much, apparently, that just has complete control over like Kingdom Hearts and whatever else comes in. So it's kind of crazy.
I don't think it's just because he's short and fat. Have you seen a side by side? Kind of looks like.
He looks. Well, yeah.
He's got a similar shaped head.
Yeah. But it's pretty crazy, I think. And this is actual like straight up censorship. But this kind of thing. I'm like, well, this is the kind of stuff people should actually be crying online about and being like, what the fuck, China? What's going on here? Your president's up shit creek. But have you seen anyone talk about this? No,
because China's always going on about censorship. They don't
Doesn't
know
matter,
about the
like-
Tiananmen Square incident because they've scrubbed their whole internet about it. So
Well,
this
yeah,
isn't
they
a shocking
try.
revelation.
I think
China
it's-
are just they love their censorship, and until somebody else is in power there, it's going to continue.
I think in an industry where gamers love to cry about censorship, and an actual
American
game-
censorship, they don't care about censorship for anybody else. If it doesn't affect them directly, they don't care about it.
half of the games
if they
that
don't
cry
think
about
it affects them directly, then they don't care about it.
but it is affecting them directly. That they're not getting access to a game anymore. The game they wanted to play, might have wanted to play.
They probably didn't
Do you
even know
think-
about the game. You said it wasn't very. You said it was good, but it wasn't like a huge
Well,
release.
because it came out and disappeared 2 weeks later or whatever
Yeah.
it was. So that's I just think it's fucking crazy. I think it is absolutely fucking crazy. And we talked about the Winnie the Pooh thing on like Platinum Explosion or somewhere before and whatever else, but I think it's absolutely nuts that they can have a hidden thing, very subtle. It's not like a JPEG Google image of Winnie the Pooh on a tarot card or something. It's like a drawing like in the game or whatever. And you kind of have to go out of your way to find it, of course. Like it's not front and center in your face. Someone obviously put it in there as their way of being like, yeah, I'll stick it to the
This is a
stick it
funny
to the
joke.
man. Yeah, I'll put this funny joke in here. People that will get it, and then
Or it might
You know,
be
it's
like
fine.
part of the world building, like the people that are doing it are against the president or whatever. It could have story purposes.
it could. And the point though is like even if it has story purpose or it doesn't, either way, the fact that that country they can get that upset they can shut down an entire company like this and pull a game. I find that absolutely nuts. And of course you could be like, well, yeah, but Dylan, there's heaps of things in China that are messed up. And I'll be like, yeah, cool. I know, but we're on a video game podcast. I'm well aware. I just think like from a video game company standpoint, the fact like the idea of the president of anywhere having this much influence, and it's kind of scary because in the day and age, I'm like, fucking if Trump keeps going, and he turns America into whatever he wants to turn it into, it's like this is the exact sort of shit that he would
He's
end up
taking
doing
notes.
if he had it his way.
He's
taking
getting
notes,
he's
for
getting
sure.
an assistant to take notes.
100%, because I'm like, this is So if I suggest reading the whole story, I don't want to go over it all because there's I wouldn't do it justice, and there's lots of interesting tidbits in the thing. But I would highly suggest checking it out because I just think it's super interesting. It's like what is going on? What is going on here? Absolutely nuts. Right, so this past week I played Sea of Solitude. You may not have noticed it came out because they released it at literally the worst possible time ever to release a game, I think. It came out July 5th. So it came out the day after, the dates it came out the day after July 4th. But I'm like, is it a really good idea to release a video game the day after like a big American holiday? Because a lot of people aren't probably going to buy it because they're on holidays and stuff. And also B, the important factor that reaches like a worldwide thing are a lot of websites going to cover it on time for like good promotional purposes during that time? And the answer is also no, because most websites were also off on holidays. So whoever made the decision to release this the day after one of America's biggest holidays, to you I say, you're dumb. That was a really, really silly decision. But also, Sea of Solitude was announced last year during EA's, what is now, unless they
EA
come
Play.
back, their last EA Play conference type thing. It's a EA indie title thing or whatever they call it, EA Originals. So it's one of the games that they publish, but they don't actually get money from, kind of like
No Way Out.
Unraveled or A Way Out as
No
well.
Way Out. That's right.
Yeah, both of those games. So it's published on the same sort of thing, and it had this really cool art style. And the trailer came out, and I think a lot of people talked about it when the trailer showed last year because it had distinctive art style and showed this woman in a boat, and there was a monster under the sea. And at the time, I think everyone was like, "What is this game? What's it about?" So it's out. Once again, it is out. You probably just missed the fucking memo that it is out. It is basically a game about without. Well, I don't want to spoil it all, obviously, but it's a game that tackles like mental health, family life, relationship problems, all sorts of stuff. Like it dwells in lots of dilemmas and all those sorts of things. And I guess you could describe the way it plays out is it kind of has 3 or 4 separate chapters, depending on how you want to look at it, that deal with separate characters within the main character's life, which is called Kay. And she appears as a monster in the game. Well, human-like monster. She's kind of covered in like goo stuff, I guess. I don't really know how to describe it. She's not like a super weird-looking monster. You can tell she's a human character. And when the game starts, you're just on this boat and you're like, what the hell's going on? Then you start traveling around and you bump into this monster that's under the sea that's basically trying to kill you and you don't know why. And the monster yells at you. The first time you meet her, I'm pretty sure she just pops up out of the water and just yells, "You're shit, you never do anything, you're absolute trash." Like all this sort of stuff, like this really aggressively. And then you progress through the game by a series of either like third-person platforming, although none of it's hard. You just climb up ladders, jump across a couple things, do what you need to do. And then I'd say puzzles in quotation marks because none of them are like super complicated. They're rather simple things that you just have to go through the motions to complete. Nothing about the game's hard or at all. Some parts I found tedious, like it has, once again in quotation marks, boss battles, I guess, which I found quite tedious simply because the character doesn't control like really smooth for some of the stuff they were trying to have you do. So, but you basically can't fail anything. If you die, you can't just respawn and whatever. I don't see anyone having a hard time with this game. So it's basically a narrative adventure game for the most part, with some platforming and stuff sprinkled in. And once again, without huge spoilers, but a lot of the monsters that you bump into throughout the game, because there are other monsters, are meant to obviously represent figures in Kay's life. So you'll bump into them and then you have to work through some personal stuff, I guess. And the game is very not on the nose. I suppose, like, if you want to say, like, Celeste, which obviously came out last year, Celeste, this hardcore platformer where it had a story about mental health and depression and stuff. But it was very, like, subtle, I guess. Like, you knew what it was about, but it wasn't heavy-handed with it. Whereas this game is very much like, here's what it's about, here's what this character is, here's what this is, which I suppose is going to work for you or not work for you. I would say I prefer Celeste's subtleness than this game's like rather heavy-handed writing at times, especially since it has a lot of dialogue between characters and the writing at times is just dull, and also the voice performances are not great at times, which can kind of ruin what is supposed to be hugely emotional moments when the lines are being delivered quite weirdly. But for $30, I think it was like $29.95 on the Australian PSN store, I think it was. For the price, I'd say it was fine. It took me about, actually don't know, probably it'll take you between, I'd say 4 to 6, maybe 5 to 6 hours to beat it. So it's not super long. And some of the stuff that it talks about, like, it didn't have me weeping in my seat, but I was like, I can relate to this. I get it. Like, oh, I get when you're going through. But then other things, I was like, I don't, like, this isn't clicking for me at all, because it tries to play with several different themes throughout it. And I can't help but feel like maybe if the game was a little bit more focused on one theme instead of several sub themes, I guess, it would have done a lot better job. And then it kind of rushes to the end where it does the whole thing where it's like, and now you're supposed to just be like, and everything's happy now, and like, no, things will be forever fine, which I always find weird in these sorts of games where they send this sort of message of like, if you overcome your hump of anything once, that means the rest of your life will be happy for sure and you'll never have anything go wrong again. So I find that quite weird, but it's got a really interesting art style and setting. It's like set in Venice, I guess. Like that's where the location is supposed to be. So you're going around and all the structures and stuff look good, and the art style is interesting, although at times art assets just aren't as good as like the character models and stuff and whatever else. But overall, pretty good. Although I'd still say, out of all the EA originals, this one seems the least. I hate the word, but least polished, I guess. Even though I hate saying polished as a description for a thing, but yeah, least polished EA original I think I've played.
皆さんこんにちは。任天堂スイッチの総合プロデューサー小泉です。
So shortly after we recorded last week's episode, I'm pretty sure like a couple hours. I'm pretty sure it was a couple hours after.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, who'd have thought? That's pretty much our luck consistently. But Nintendo announced the Nintendo Switch Lite, which has been long rumored mini version or the handheld only version of the Nintendo Switch. We talked about before. There was all these rumors about a smaller version and then like a pro model, and they finally announced the Nintendo Switch Lite. So it'll be releasing on September 20th. It's got an RRP of $329.95. For comparison, the base Switch model's RRP is $399. So it's $139 cheaper if you compare RRP to RRP. And it'll be available in 3 colors when it launches: yellow, grey, and turquoise. And then also on November 8th, a Switch Lite Zanakin and Zamazito, or however you say the names, Jesus Christ, edition will be launching as well, which has the 2 dogs that Ash loves so much, with holding the sword and the shield face.
Shield one.
Yeah. with pictures of them on the back of the Switch console. So what it has is, it is handheld only. You cannot dock it at all. It has no connection to hook up to a mini dock or the current dock that you own for a Switch. No way to hook it up. It has no kickstand either. So if you want to prop this thing up and because you can sync Joy-Cons, you can't take the Joy-Cons off it, but you can sync other Joy-Cons that you have to it, or you could sync a Pro controller to it as well. But you have no kickstand to like prop it up. So you'll have to buy a
case.
I assume case or third party product. I guess someone will release something that you could like stand
or you
it
can
on.
Just
I guess
lean it up against something.
Yeah, or just which is what I guess the cheap option is. But yeah, the Joy-Cons are built into the system for this, so you can't take them off. So it is basically a handheld. This one, it is. I also wrote the stats here somewhere. So it's 3 centimeters smaller lengthways than the original, and it's a centimeter less in height. So it's pretty smaller, and its screen is 5.5 inches compared to the 6.2 inches of the original Switch screen, and it weighs a lot less of 398 grams. So, and the original was whatever it was, but it's 275 lighter. And the battery life is going to be 3 to 7 hours compared to the 2.5 to 6.5 that is estimated of the base Switch. So its battery life is going to last quite a while longer as well. Now, after it was come out, after it was revealed, we've had I was a bit annoyed because at first I was like, oh damn, I've got work, we have no time. At first I was like, how do I fit in a recording session to talk about this before last week's episode released? But it wasn't going to happen. But then I'm kind of like okay with it now, because in the week that's progressed, I guess, the week that progressed between last week's recording, this getting revealed, and this week's recording, I've got to see and read all of the internet complaining, which I think is a good thing to see happen.
Really? What a surprise.
To be honest, I don't think I've seen, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd say the majority of the reaction to this thing has been negative, both from people, like general internet reaction, to people we follow, like other people that do podcasts in the Australian industry, even like other random like games media folk from IGN and stuff, apart from a few key outliners like Brian Altano and stuff. I feel like the majority reaction I've seen to this thing has been basically, why would you do this? Nintendo, this is a stupid idea, blah 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 blah. So, but Ash, how do you feel about it?
I think it's fine. It's not a necessity for me. It does seem like an odd choice to have something, I guess, like the things they took out are interesting, I guess. But everything is understandable, I guess, when you look at it from a Nintendo perspective of, we just want to put out a handheld, I guess, that fits that 3DS spot, I guess. But especially the price point, I feel like was the major thing that was holding people back.
Yeah.
Especially when the Switch has been on mid-year sales, and this has been probably the cheapest it's ever been. So when you're looking at it's like $70 difference, you're like, all you get is an extra bit of battery life. Which,
yeah, no, but do you think do you think comparing sale-based Switch to full price this Switch is really a good way to look about things? Because I'm like, well, that's
that's when they decided to announce it against. I could have waited till the price went back up, and then we go, hey, this looks like a real good bargain.
I guess. Sheree, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm disappointed that they haven't. I don't feel they've made them different enough. Like when I was first watching the trailer for it, it took me a while to actually see the size difference between them. I was like, this is a bit strange. And then obviously by the end of the trailer, I sort of saw that there was the significant size difference, but I just don't think they've made it enough. And I also think the price is going to be a factor in this. We have had discussions on the show previously about what we thought they were going to do with it. And I honestly thought that they would make it, because one of the things was that they took out the motion.
It has no
sensors and stuff,
HD rumble or gyroscope or anything like
Which
that.
makes
It's
sense
funny
because it's one system. So
yeah, it's funny because, originally when they brought out the Switch, it was like, it's a console where you can play it handheld. But now they're like, here's a handheld. The normal Switch is definitely not a handheld. Like, I feel like that's kind of what they're trying to back in. But in actual fact, I feel like it's not what we had originally discussed, which was let's bring out a heaps cheaper version of the Switch. It's going to be just that cheaper option to give to kids, or like younger kids or whatever. It's going to be at the younger market, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that this is enough of a separation to back in that theory, is my viewing of it.
I don't even, I'm sure this is good for kids on the, I presume it'll be kind of less breakable maybe because it's one product. But I don't even look at this as it's for kids thing. I look at it as it's for the people who had no interest in a home console at all. I'm referencing what we had all originally discussed on the Arcade Couch episode. But I think if I play my Switch primarily in handheld mode, just based on playing it in bed or just, picking it up, putting it down type of thing, as I've discussed. If I looked at what I would purchase, just if I was okay, I just want a handheld, which one would I go for? I'd still go for the normal Switch. Because I'd be okay, we'll just spend a little bit extra and just get everything in one. Yeah, I think this is where my thing comes up for this though, is if I was buying a Switch today and I walked in, and I'm not going to use this because I really don't think it's a solid argument of, you walk into a store, the base model Switch is on sale and this is full price, which one are you going to buy? I'm comparing, that's apples to oranges, and we can get to that. But if you want to compare apples to apples, you walk into a store, this is $100 and whatever I said, $29 cheaper RRP if you're looking to buy either at base price. Now, I personally, as someone who's not afraid to whip out the credit card, if I was looking to buy a Switch, I would just buy the full thing still. Even as someone who primarily plays 90% of my Switch handheld.
Yep.
But if you want to compare oranges to oranges then, and say that a couple months from now, after this is released, maybe at Christmas time, comes out end of September or something, I think, maybe at Christmas time, walk into EB Games, they'll probably have both on sale.
Well,
so
Amazon and Harvey Norman already had them available for pre-order at $288, $298. So
yeah, and that's what is that? Like it's a significant discount. It's not like groundbreaking, but that is
It's like
a
a
launch
10%
price
discount. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, for launch, which is pretty good. But at Christmas time, probably more.
I think too what you've got to look at, they're smart in the way that they're marketing their release with Pokemon basically. So
Yep.
they're already opening it into, obviously they want it to be a handheld, and that's what it is, but they already have that incentive for, there's this brand new game coming out, you know, it's a new Pokemon game that it's all ages basically, and if you were a huge Pokemon fan, you'd be like, and you had a normal Switch, you were like,
Well,
okay, maybe I'll get this
I
special.
Do I
honestly,
need that
that's-
special edition?
I don't know,
The
it
one
depends
good
how much
dog
of
and
a
the one
fan you
bad
are.
dog? Yeah.
Well, this is the thing I take into account because I do think the Pokemon Special Edition and the Switch Lite and Pokemon, it's no one big coincidence as that being like the biggest game that's coming out for them kind of by the end of the year. I do think that is the sole reason they're putting out this product is for Pokemon. And that's because where are all the Pokemon games? They're on your 3DS. That's where the last couple of years have all
Yes.
been, right? Your core base games. So for me, looking at this, and because a lot of people I've seen chuck out the whole, this is for kids. I don't think it's for kids. I think this is them. And as much as Nintendo has said counterpoints to this, because they're saying they're going to keep supporting the 3DS, blah, 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 because it's a good entry point for gamers, is what Doug Bowser said at E3. And I believe him. And I believe that the 3DS or the 2DS, and that's another important thing for this whole argument, people are like, this is crazy. It's not even a Switch anymore. You're talking about the company that literally made a 3DS and then a couple of years later made a product called the 2DS and took away the whole key factor of calling it a fucking 3DS in the first place. And people are like, it doesn't Switch anymore. Nintendo's Nintendo. Nintendo will do Nintendo weird shit consistently. So that's nothing new here. But yeah, so I think the 3DS/2DS in Nintendo's mind is this is for kids. You want to get your kid your first gaming console or gaming handheld to give to them that isn't going to be super expensive, because you can buy a 2DS or whatever for like $100 or less these days. You know, you want to buy a bunch of games for that thing, you get a 2DS with probably a shit ton of games for like $200, $150 or whatever these days. So if your kid's like what, 8, 10, whatever age, you're going to chuck a 2DS as a kid and be like, here, have this.
Hands, kid.
Yeah, you're going to chuck I think that's where Nintendo's like 2DS, 3DS is now our kid stuff. That's where we're not going to put heaps of effort into our first party games and stuff for that. We'll keep supporting it somewhat. That's what they're saying. Doug Bowser said entry level, but Switch, because it's a hybrid console now and they're moving all their franchises over, including Pokemon, they're like, well, we want to get the audience, the Pokemon fans. Maybe maybe they've got stats. We don't have access to these numbers. Maybe they have numbers that literally say hardcore Pokemon fans that buy Pokemon game year after year after year, and could be massive Nintendo fans, don't actually own our home consoles. There could be a bunch of people out there that have owned multiple 3DSs for Pokemon games, but never once brought a Wii or a Wii U or a fucking GameCube or however far you want to go back. So they're like, well, how do we get these people to come over to Switch now, because they only play handheld consoles? And the Switch Lite, I guess, is their answer. So yeah, I think the Switch Lite isn't just we decided to make a cheap version without the stuff. I think it entirely correlates to Pokemon being the core reason the console was even thought of in the first place, for stats and numbers we don't have access to, and how their plan is now. Because 3DS kids, Nintendo Switch Lite, people who don't want home consoles but want access to the Switch's library of games, Nintendo Switch base model for everyone else. That's how I look at it.
So do you not think that this is their stepping stone into, because I know this was something that we discussed on that Arcade Couch episode when we predicted it, but I can't remember exactly what you said. So do you not think that this is a stepping stone for getting rid of the 3DS?
I think they're going to get rid of the 3DS in 3 years, maybe even 5 years. I think they'll keep that thing kicking around.
Well, to be fair, they only just stopped producing Vitas. So
yeah.
there is
I
still
can
an
see
audience for these older. They're not going to put out special edition 3DSs anymore.
No.
But, the occasional game might come out.
Yeah.
They'll update it.
Yeah.
But that's
what
it.
I'm saying. They're not going to make a Pokemon game for the 3DS anymore. They're not going to make any first-party Nintendo games for the 3DS anymore. They're not going to. Most companies are just going to port games over there or put like Ben 10 games and what kids shows the people watch these days. Insert name here. What's the one with the little people that look like they're in their pajamas? That one over here.
Well, I mean, what I'm interested to see, and this could be a strategic move as well, is they're bringing Pokemon fans over from the 3DS to now the Switch Lite, or whatever you want to say. Whatever
that's the official name. So let's use it.
Switch Lite. But they're either going to go to a Switch or they're going to get a Switch Lite. What's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out, and could be part of the plan, is let's see where these sales go for 3DS and things now. Because to me, if I was a parent, which I am, lol, and my kid was old enough to have a handheld, and I'm in a store and I'm looking at, I could get this 3DS, I could get this Switch Lite. Why would I buy them a 3DS over a Switch Lite if those were the two options? So
you really would buy a Switch Lite over 2DS or 3DS?
It depends how old my kid is at the time. But it's that whole, like, why would I buy an older... If it was a money thing, sure. But in regards to technology and things like that, why would I buy an older handheld?
Well, as an entry point console, it's cheaper to replace because it's probably going to get broken or may get broken. And it's going to have a much larger list of games that you'd be able to buy for cheaper. You're not going to be like, here, have the recent console, because by God, have you been nagging me to play Mario Odyssey 2? I know you can't. I know you need to play the latest releases. You can't wait. You don't want to play this 3-year-old game.
You don't know what kids are going to be like. You don't know. You don't even know. I can... This would be interesting to talk to Rocker Mummy and see like what her take is on this whole thing. But
I can tell you, one of her kids broke a Switch, I think, is the story. So no, I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
But she made that Switch cake. This is the thing. Anyway,
yeah,
getting
from
back
the
on
parts
track.
of the broken Switch.
Look, mate. What I'm saying is, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what it does to sales, transferring across from basically taking, if you're saying that, that's your key market for that other than kids, and they're now moving across to the Switch Lite. It's going to be interesting to see what that really does to sales. And then I would say the sales will be so crap. And I think that this is just a stepping stone into basically getting rid of that sooner rather than later. We're not waiting 3 to 5 years or whatever you reckon it was going to be.
They're going to wait. That thing's going to kick around as long as it keeps selling, and it'll keep selling. And because the other thing you have to take into account with this whole equation of you going in and picking which console to buy first is you're not average mum out there who doesn't play. Average mum out there who doesn't care about video games, doesn't play video games, has no idea. Do you think she's going to care about the money between X video game and X video game system? I say she does, because she doesn't care. And if one of the systems costs $50 and the other costs $150, mum out there who doesn't care about video games at all isn't going to be like, well, I will spend the $100 extra for this thing I have no idea about. They're just going to be like, well, here's the cheap video game console. And that's how I reckon they will switch the marketing of the 2DS/3DS. DS market, DSi market, DSi Switchware.
In a universe of I'm just buying a console for shits and gigs, then sure. I think in a universe where you're buying a Christmas present, you're buying a birthday present, you're buying the new one. That's my take.
I suppose the other thing with this for people, like the whole kids equation 3DS thing, like coming back to Switch Lite for people who already have Switches, I would like one, but I would not pay that price. is the thing. I feel like that's the overall takeaway from most people who already own Switches. So that's what, and I feel like for the price point they've set for it, they have to know they're not targeting a market of getting Switch owners to buy another Switch. That doesn't feel like the market. That doesn't feel like what you're targeting this at with this price point.
They're targeting at people that are playing 3DSs.
Yeah, we've been over that. I agreed with that. Yeah, but I'm saying a lot of people I've seen online are being like, well, this thing's shit because I would have brought another one if it had this or was cheaper or so on and so forth. And I'm like, I don't think they're targeting you. They're not targeting me. They're not targeting you. They're targeting the 3DS people. And the counter argument for that is people being like, well, if someone who wants to upgrade to a Switch for Pokemon, why wouldn't they just pay the $120 more or wait for a Switch to be on sale or something like that? But this is where my counter to that is, well, they're both going to be on sale at certain points, and they're already, as Ash pointed out, they're already marking it down. So
$100 difference is reasonable-ish, I guess.
It's like 2 games potentially.
1.5
as well.
AAA.
Yeah. Well, it depends
Physical
what you're
games.
buying. AAA, sure, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. We'll have to see what happens. If I was to bet now, I'm going to say that this thing comes out and it does actually really well. And I know that's, I don't know what you consider really well, and I don't know if they'll obviously release the numbers unless it actually does well, because then we'll never actually probably know. But I think this thing will do really well because it's going to release close to Pokemon, and then they're going to have that Pokemon edition, which a lot of people will jump into, so on and so forth. And I actually would say, not a high number, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people out there who have never touched their dock since day dot, their dock has stayed in the box since they bought their Switch. I wouldn't honestly be surprised if those people actually downgraded the model, especially people who love to just, they're like, this thing is so chunky and heavy, they're chucking my bag every day. I could see people downgrading, if you want to call it that, to this simply to have a smaller model. Downsizing, yeah, there you go. I could see that happening, to be completely honest, for a very small minority. I'm not saying enough to make this thing successful, obviously, but I definitely feel like there's several angles to look at it. Another interesting thing is Kotaku had this story up. It says Japan polled over Nintendo Switch Lite interest. Says, are folks in Japan interested in buying a Nintendo Switch Lite? Let's see what a new poll on Japanese site Inside reveals. The poll asked Switch owners and non-owners whether they plan to purchase a Nintendo Switch Lite. There were over 5,000 replies, 5,191 to be exact. Here is how those results break down. So it's not a huge poll, but I thought the results were somewhat interesting nonetheless. So the first thing was, I won't buy a Lite, but I will buy a regular Switch, which got 342 votes. So it was 9% of those polled, so rather small. I will pass on this version of the Lite, got 393 votes, 10.4% of the poll. It's not a huge amount either. I already have a Switch, but I will purchase a Lite, got 676 votes, so 17.9% of the votes. I feel like that's pretty high already for like people, things just announced. They're already like, I have a Switch already, but I'm going to purchase a Lite as well. I feel like that, like if you want to round that up to like 20%, or 18% if you don't want me getting too crazy, I feel like that is quite high. Next one was, I don't own a Switch, but I will purchase a Lite. Got 1,111 votes for 29.4% of the poll. And once again, I feel like that's pretty high. And then the last one was, I already have a Switch, but I'll pass on the Lite, which got the highest amount, which makes sense, which is 1,258 votes. So 33.3% of the poll said they will pass on the Lite because they already are happy with their Switch, which makes sense. But the 29.4% who said they will purchase a Lite because they don't already have a Switch, and they will purchase a Lite instead of a base Switch, I think that's rather significant. And then even that 10.4%, the whatever it was, the 17.9%, sorry, who said they will also purchase a Lite alongside the Switch they already own. Yeah. Any of that interesting? Or
No.
I don't think it's really surprising, no.
it makes it, well, I think it's interesting the amount of people said that they'll purchase a Lite. Because everyone's like, well, who's going to purchase this thing? And there's the figure there, right, once again, 5,000 whatever, not a significant number, but people saying that they will purchase a Lite. They don't own a Switch. And that was a decent amount. And then also the other thing for this whole Switch story, to round it out, is that nearly a week on, I guess, or whatever it was from the Lite announcement, Nintendo announced, well, kind of just snuck out the information there. It wasn't like a big reveal or anything, but Nintendo Switch base model will be getting a new model, SKU, whatever you want to call it, like a product version, coming onto store shelves soon, which will slowly ease out all the old models, which is nothing new. That's how it works for your Xboxes,
Everything.
PlayStations. It's how TVs,
PSVR,
whatever.
everything.
Everything. Yeah, literally everything has models come in and out, and most of the time you don't actually know, unless you're really tech savvy, like, and you keep up. It's like, well, the fucking fan on this version of PlayStation is quieter, so you're purposely after that version or whatever. These things happen all the time. But for this new version of the Nintendo Switch that will be coming out late August in Japan, and as far as I'm aware at the moment, it still doesn't have an official confirmation or start showing up on Australian shores, but I would assume as much. It's just going to be, I would assume it's a worldwide like replacement of the old stock sort of thing, upgrade the Switch. But the new Nintendo Switch coming out, which will be model number HAC 001 bracket -01, take that, will have a much better battery life. That is the only significant upgrade that we know of, unless someone cracks the thing open, discovers something else. But the new model will have a battery life of 4.5 to 9 hours, which once again compared to the base a launch Switch is 3 to 7 hours. So quite significant, I feel, improvement on the battery life. It just makes me wonder what did batteries get cheaper, or what part exactly
Probably
makes this happen?
Been 2 years,
Yeah,
2 and a bit years.
two and a bit years, yeah. So.
Yeah, so batteries are constantly improving.
Yeah. So I guess the big thing with this though is, do we think that this is the Pro or the rumored Pro? Because of course
No.
the rumor was
No,
Yeah,
it's
no,
just,
it's just
incremental improvement.
So you still think the Pro is going to be coming? Because Doug Bowser recently said that apart from the Lite, there will be no other new Switch hardware coming this year.
Well,
and
then no, it's not coming.
So, so do you think the Pro, if you still think that the Pro's coming and the rumors weren't just about the Lite plus this, then the Pro would be next year, I guess.
Yeah, potentially next year. I mean, down the line, I fully expect it to, but obviously there's no rush at the moment.
No. And I also feel like this is just, although the battery life is good,
It could be
I
better.
don't. Well, it could always be better. But once again, it's like I want to meet someone who's like, yeah, I'm gonna trade in my Switch, pay $150 in a trade-in deal or some shit at EVA Games, and pay $150 to get 2 hours extra battery life. In what crazy world would that happen?
You could probably find. Surely someone's invented some sort of battery pack you can plug in.
You can hook up battery packs, not
like a case thing to make it look like it's all one unit.
I was about to say, my safety warning was going to be, not all battery packs that you can hook your phone up to are safe for your Switch. You do need to look up which ones are
Yeah.
the right ones. But you can just buy a battery pack like you do for your phone to work with your Switch. So yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But everyone flipped out a little bit. It was like, new Nintendo Switch, but we've got the Lite, we've got the new model. Either way, whatever Switch you buy in the next couple months is going to have improved battery life. Thumbs up, friends, I guess. Happy everyone. Alrighty, thank you for joining us on the couch this week. Make sure you check out explosionnetwork.com for all our other shows, reviews, news, articles, and much more. Review Arcade Couch on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser to help out the show, or simply review the episode on social media and share it with your friends and also us, and then we'll retweet it and be your friends. You can follow Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod, and you can join our Discord at explosionnetwork.com/Discord. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, VIVALADIL. You can follow Ashley on Twitter at Ashley Hobby, ASHLEYHOBLEY, and you can follow Sheree on Twitter at Sheree Corner, CHERICORNO. And until next week, we'll be back here. Same couch, same time, less Switch news, maybe. Find out in the future time zones. Bye.
Catch up on the latest TV, online media, and movie news from the biggest comic book films and YouTube crazes to our local cinema scene. And then hear what we've been watching before asking the age-old question, what do you want to watch? Available on all podcast services every second Friday. Just search your podcast app for What Do You Want to Watch and subscribe for free now. And keep watching stuff, I guess.
Isn't it normally same time, same couch? Not
What does
same
it?
couch, same time.
Well, you know,
You said same couch, same time.
it's a
You know what he did? Switched it up
yeah.
lightly.
Oh, yeah.